In this tutorial, I'm going to kind of go over the concept of an API, and I want to discuss it in the context of an example that you're more than likely already familiar with, and that's searching stuff on Google. Now, when you go to a place like google.com and you put in a search query, you get back some results on that query. Now, there's a certain interaction between the data stored in Google and you put in the search query, you get back results that are well, you see that actually they're formatted for for visual presentation. Now an API is very similar. It's an interaction between a data source and instead of a human, it's going to be your basically your program or your software or whatever, your web page. And that kind of brings a couple of differences to it. Now, for one, when you use an API to extract data, you're not going to get it nicely formatted like this. Instead, you're going to get something like this. And in my example over here, I'm using Facebook to basically pull data from the zombies page, and that's what I did in my Google search too. But you notice that the difference with my with this API derived data is that it's just plain text. Now, what's the purpose of just having plain text? Well, there's actually two main purposes. The first is it's lightweight. Google search results are formatted for humans, but the idea is that there's extra HTML put into this content in order to visually present it on the page, which means more code, more stuff to download, more overhead. But I mean, for Google search results, obviously, you much rather prefer to see it this way than just getting a bunch of text that way. And the second reason is kind of the concept of the separation of HTML from CSS. If you're getting back results from a place like Facebook and you want these results to be pumped into your project, well, you don't necessarily want it formatted any particular way. You want to have total control over the visual presentation. So that would be why you want data like this. So here, just to show you this Facebook example that I'm pulling JSON data from their API is just one result. Here's an example of a Twitter search result on the search query zombies that ultimately produces multiple results similar to what you'd see here on Google. I mean, it's going to provide you with someone's Twitter name, their little icon picture, what the text of their message says, and even like URLs to their user profile, all that kind of stuff. So some other interesting parallels you'll see is on the search strings, and this is really how you're going to interact. Now with Google, if we look at the search string here, maybe it'd be easier to bring up a text editor, you see that we have something like this. It says google.com/search question mark Q equals, and then our search term, zombies. Now you could change this search term into anything you want. You could change it to puppies. And what you're going to end up getting when you do that is search results on cute little puppies. Now, this graph that I have here is rather graph from Facebook, sort of the same thing. You have graph.facebook.com/zombies. Now, zombies is the name of the page. I mean, basically, if you replace graph with www.facebook.com, it'd be /zombies. That would be the page that you're going to. Actually, let's just verify this to be the case. And that would be whatever user ID or username was over there. And that's how you pull for that data. And similarly, when we look at the Twitter URL that I have here, you see search.twitter.com/search.json ? Q equals zombies. And you could replace zombies with anything you want. Going back to our puppies example, we just put that in and we'll just get more of that same data over there, except about puppies. Now, how would you even know how to format a string like this? Well, any API that you're using is going to come with some sort of documentation, and the quality of that documentation varies. Now, a place like Facebook, it really wants people developing stuff for their website because that's, it's only getting their site more popular. So you'll find that they have a really robust and very detailed description of how to use their API. Similar thing with Twitter. They have some great documentation, and really it all starts with getting an example of a formatted query string and then kind of manipulating it as you need. So the way this plays in is if you start using something like jQuery to pull JSON data, you always need to start with getting the results. And that's really the first step to this idea of mashing up data in your web page. And of course, these examples I gave you are very simplistic in the sense that we're just looking for the search query puppies. But when you look deeper into the documentation, you could see that you have a lot of options to show, to kind of fine grain your results. Maybe any search term that says puppies within the last 24 hours, or in a particular geolocation. And the same thing with Facebook and actually even Google. Now, I showed you an example of a search query that I created before, but if you actually go to google.com and you put in let's put in Dragos Bogdan, you'll see that the search string that it puts is a lot longer than the example I gave. Well, there's a lot going on here. Part of this is Google keeping track of what language you're using, what browser you're using, potentially where you're coming from, and all that kind of stuff.